going to be, and
Okay.
also about how SEO is changing into like an LLM SEO, give you an overview of the landscape and what to do, what not to do. There's a lot of other content creators or SEO companies, and what they're doing is mass generating content. We're going to talk about why that's not a good idea, and to educate you on really where we see the future for SEO and search and how it's changing. And so one of the things we want to talk about is one of the strategies that we're going to be employing, which is powering, trying to get as much user-generated content for SEO value. So when you think of user-generated content, we're talking about just if you think about like a review and how important those reviews are. Well, now take that away from just like a Google review and then start thinking about someone talking on Reddit, someone talking on Quora, someone posting something about TikTok about your brand, and how we can use that for user-generated content and also entity linking. We're going to talk about that. So one of the things that's great about this is it's very authentic. It has it's from real people, and this also is allowing, what we're doing is using your inventory and your products and your services as the most important thing that we want to be found. And so what's happening today in the current marketplace is that it's so easy to generate 100 pages or a page for every single product. So in this instance, let's say rewriting a page or creating a page for every single car that you have for sale. And that it generates hundreds and hundreds of pages. And if you think about this, is that one AI, no matter how great your AI is, it's not going to be so much greater than an X AI writing about the same thing. So, for
Well,
instance, a
not to
quote.
interrupt, but I experimented because I was in a clubhouse call yesterday, and they talked about some stuff that another gentleman's doing with landing pages, and I like his stuff, right? And I had made the mistake, and I said, hey, Google doesn't like duplicate content from AI generated stuff. I said, so if you guys are going to do a bunch of AI generated things, just be careful not to do duplicate content because it's kind of frowned down on. I said, but I have to research and make sure I'm telling you guys the correct thing, but that's what my understanding is. And then it caused me to write an article about LLM SEO um, as a recap of it on LinkedIn. But I really delve into this. So what I did is I went to ChatGPT and I took a certain vehicle and I asked it to write a description about it. And, and just a general description with just the URL. And then I took a copy of the page and I asked it to write a description of it. And I asked it, three different ways, one with the URL, one with just a copy of the page. Um, and it gave me pretty much six different descriptions, but they were very, very, very close. 80% of the content was really the same content that all of them had. So if 10 guys have that same vehicle and we're all writing about the same thing, I said, well, how relevant would this be? So then I asked that question to Perplexity. And Perplexity said to me, well, because the way I worded it is I said, hey, AI, it doesn't sound like to me that AI generated pages are a good idea for my inventory as a used car dealer or a new car dealer. I said, do those not get indexed? And Perplexity came back to me and said, well, it's all about the quality of the content. It's not about that it's AI written or it's human written. It comes down to if it's bad content, duplicate content, things that aren't valid, with experiences. It even brought up Reddit, Mike. So it was kind of funny that you said that. So I'll let you continue, but I just
Mhm.
thought it was very unusual that Perplexity started telling me just a lot more detail and very similar things that I had written about and what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. So that's basically where we're looking at is, the scaled content. So still scaled content, Google just came out last month, and now there's a lot more information that we have available right now. And really scaled content, whether it's human or it's AI, you have a couple things. So having a page for every vehicle and everything it's on your website, think of it as the purpose of it would be as a brochure. Someone comes to your website and you have a nice, pretty brochure. Someone comes in your business, you have a brochure. But that brochure is not going to generate links, traffic, and it's not going to show up on Google because Google's just taking everybody's content. So if you have a Ford F-150, and no matter how great your AI is, and it writes a beautiful page, just perfect, it's not going to be so much better than the other 100 people writing about an F-150. And when the AI engines and large language models crawls and wants to get that information, they're just going to grab all the information anyhow and rewrite it, and you're not going to it's not going to help you at all. Now, for a local search, it's even more important because what's happening is that not only are you able to, there's a cap on total indexing. So as a website, if you have tons and tons of pages, and when those pages are crawled, they're not, every page isn't getting indexed. And then you also, the large language models, when they're going to the websites, it's a great chance it's not going to crawl everything. And so if you think about it, 2 years ago, you used to have like two robots that would come to the website for every one person. And now today it's 50 for every one person. And so what's happening is that when these large language models and search engines, when they're going and they're looking for information, they're not going to read the entire website. They're going to crawl it. They're just going to look over what they want. And so one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we have the coding of the website and the content created so that the large language models and the search engines knows exactly what we want to do. And we want to prioritize your live inventory. We want to, so instead of having all these different types of model pages and all the fluff, we want to make sure that, hey, this are the cars that we sell, this is where we're at, and this is our brand. So that's what we want to, push is really your inventory, your actual products.